everybody, to another episode of the Move with Momentum podcast. I'm Bruce Breedlove with Jon Brooks once again. Today, we have a special guest. This is Ryan Snow. Welcome, Ryan. A little bit about him. Ryan is the co-founder of Unconventional Acquisitions, partnered up with Cody Sanchez. Also the author of Miracle Morning for Salespeople and Explosive Sales Growth. So, Ryan, give us a little bit of background on yourself. Tell us about you and what your expertise is in for our viewers.
Yeah, so my expertise is sales. Specifically, I've done about 10 years of that in real estate. I've been about 20 years in and out of sales. I've run several of my own businesses. I'm running a couple of them now. And I started in sales by accident. So I graduated with a degree in economics and English. Thought I was going to go be a consultant in Boston. 9/11 happened my senior year of college, and then there were no jobs. And so I sold Cutco knives at in-home presentations. And I did pretty well. I learned a ton there, like awesome people that I've stayed connected with, like Hal and John Vroman, and guys that I'm still very connected to, a big group of people. So John Rulin is another one of those guys. And I opened up my own office for them for a couple of years. I was a top 10 branch manager in the company. We did over $250,000 worth of kitchen knife sales in one summer up in Burlington, Vermont. So if it can be done there, it can be done anywhere. And then I eventually, I was a ski bum for a little bit while I was up there. I sold timeshare for a little while and just hung out and skied and drank beers in the tavern. And I was 24 years old, 25 years old. When I was 23, I had 120 sales reps working for me at Cutco. When I moved back, I became a teacher, which is something I had always wanted to do, but I just felt like I was too young to do it out of college. It was like the one job that I was offered. They tried to get me to come back and teach at my old high school. And I was like, at 21, I can't see teaching like 17-year-old guys. It's just not going to work for me yet. So I did. I eventually got into teaching, which is something I had wanted to do. I started a multimedia design program while I was there. I taught graphic and web design, audio and video production. And that was like sort of the start into marketing and web design. I paid through my way a little bit through college doing some web design for companies back when we were still typing out HTML code. And shift gears, I started having kids while I was teaching. It doesn't pay enough in order to raise 3 kids. So I got my real estate license and found my way back into sales. And right about around that time, getting back into sales, I had reconnected with Hal. I was on his book launch team. We started talking about the fact that I was using the Miracle Morning with my sales team, and that sparked writing the Miracle Morning for Salespeople, and that's been my trajectory. I've run a couple brokerages. I ran a KW office. I ran another smaller local office. Been in charge of about a couple $1 billion worth of real estate transactions at this point through managing them. Ran my own sales team for a little while, for about 4 years. So I've done a little bit of everything, but a lot of it, and most of it in sales. And then I did spend about an 18-month stint traveling around teaching one-day workshops on the Miracle Morning for Salespeople at a lot of real estate brokerages, actually, all over the country. I've taught it in Mexico. I taught it in Canada. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Ryan, what's your mission now?
My mission right now is to help 100,000 people become business owners. So Cody and I, one of the reasons that we got together was in the beginning of COVID, I did some online interviews just called the Elevate series. It was part of a series put together by Amber Vilhauer. I came in and hopped in as a host for some of those. I hosted probably like 10 or 12 of them. And Cody was one of the guests. Her and I had been on an entrepreneur panel out in California like 3 or 4 years ago for One Life Fully Lived. And we stayed connected, and she started talking about the opportunity in small business. And part of it resonated with me because one of the ways we used to recruit is we would roll in small mom and pop shop companies into the brokerage through an acquisition model that was similar. They would get paid out over the next few years. And so I didn't even realize, but we had already been doing it. And then I was already in the process of acquiring half of a digital marketing company that focuses on real estate agents and helping them make their local brand presence online. So that was probably my first acquisition on my own outside of that space. And I was into the course building side and the sales side, and Cody knows the private equity side. And so it was just a good fit. We threw that course together starting last June. We started pre-selling it, and we did over 6 figures in sales, like right out of the gates. And we're scaling to 7 this year, and we're going to help some people.
Yeah, I was one of those people that went through and actually got the certificate. I am certified by you and Cody to buy a small business. So thank you for that. It was
I
a great
love
course.
it. Yeah,
So
no, it's been great.
having so much experience, you've sold everything from knives to your brokerage model. Like, what's the commonalities across selling all things? Like, what are the common themes of how to sell something?
There's only one common theme. It's find out what the problem is that you solve for people, meet the people who actually value you solving that problem for them, and give them the solution. And everybody else who's not that person, let them know that they're not that person and you can't help them, but maybe this other person can. That's it.
That's sharp and profound, and I could have never said it better myself. So I appreciate that. So piggybacking off of that. So obviously this is a real estate podcast. We are a real estate brokerage. Our mission is to help our community through excellent service, build wealth through real estate. Okay. So the way we do that as a brokerage is give the highest amount of value, the highest level of service to the agents that partner with us. Right. And my mission is to find more of those people that we can help.
Mm-hmm.
So like, as someone who's recruited agents yourself, like, how do you find the good agents? Like, how do you go about doing it?
So I would stop calling them good agents and bad agents. That's where I would start. No, but I mean, obviously there's a set of agents, right? There's a very small percentage that do a huge amount of production. So you've got to kind of find your niche within the real estate world. Like, what's my goal? Is my goal to find all the people that are already doing all the business and that's how I'm going to make money as a brokerage? Or is it to find the people that sort of resonate with our mission and what we're doing and then help them get to that point and get to know, like, what are some of those common qualities that you need to look for in those people? Right. So there are certain things around their drive, their ability to talk to people, their willingness to like take coaching and be coachable. There's a lot of things that I'd be looking for that aren't necessarily production based. And then offering them value really comes down to what do they need? Like, everybody's need is a little bit different. So I think you need to go to kind of, at KW used to call it the wall of value, right? There's like a million things that we offer, but not everybody needs everything. So what I would look for is what's the one or two things this person needs and do we offer it? And are they a good fit? And it's really individual. It comes down to asking more questions than it does about selling anything. We just got to find out what is the need. And if we can fill that need, great. And if we can't, we have to ask ourselves, do we ever want to be able to fill that need? Or is this something we need to like fix, that we don't fill that need right now, but we really do want to be able to offer that and fill that. So let's improve our wall of value. And if it's not, if it's just not part of our mission, vision, values to fill that need, then they're not a good fit.
Yeah, and John and I were just having this conversation about some problems that as a brokerage we're going to have to solve. Great problems, because our agents are in such higher level of production than when they came in, that we've got to solve. We got to do some cost control and solve those issues, because we don't want someone leaving us over $500.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want someone not joining us who's a great cultural fit and could add value to our tribe over $500. So we have to figure out as a brokerage, how do we accommodate and solve that problem so that we can bring those people in. So that's a great point. So John, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. So Ryan, one of the things that we're having happen is really interesting. So we did the 100% commission model. We didn't put a cap on it. Mm-hmm. And our agents are coming in as $4 million producers and overnight turning into like 12 to 16 mil. And our break even with big boxes around 9 mil. And so we're trying to figure out, like, how do we adjust this model? Yes, the success is there and they love it and they are getting value out of it. And we're seeing it agent after agent after agent. Okay, we've cracked some sort of formula of accountability and growth. Now we have to make our financial model make sense for them, because I don't want to punish people for having massive success. And that's something, I was a top producer real estate agent, and we look at top producers, look at their numbers. I mean, that's why they're top producers. So I was curious if you had any insight to that, because you've probably dealt with something similar in your journeys.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard when you're doing it. I'm assuming you guys are charging something transactionally, where at some point they start paying more than they would in a capped model. Right. So instead of paying 80-20 and stopping at 20 grand or whatever it is, then they're paying $500 a transaction. When you hit 9, you've paid in whatever that number is, right? Yeah. That's impossible, really, to solve. Other than like making the number smaller after a certain number. But then if you guys are losing, if you're outsourcing some of that stuff and it's costing you that to run, then you can't run with no profit either. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So I can tell you one thing. I would never open a brokerage ever. And for this very reason, and I'm not saying you shouldn't open a brokerage. I'm saying I wouldn't open a brokerage. Profit margins are narrow, right? Agents require a lot of support and attention. When they get it and they're stronger, they have more options. So it's easier to leave because now they've gotten the help that they needed and they have the ability to leave for money. Here's the other piece though. If you really enjoy the relationships of it, and this is why I wouldn't do it, because I like the piece that I do, right? So I don't want to just have to build out those relationships, and that's all that I do. And that is really what's required at the brokerage level, because people won't leave over money if they value the relationship and the money's not that big, right? Like if it's a few $100 here and there and somebody really values the relationship and they value the vision and they're tied in and they're bought in, like people don't leave because of money. People will go to somewhere that's cheaper because they're upset about something else. It's almost never about money. Like there were times when I was recruiting into a capped model when somebody was on like a 50-50 or a 60-40 split doing $10 million in volume, and I couldn't get them to move based on math. They were leaving $100,000 on the table and they wouldn't move based on math because there was a strong bond and relationship and they felt connected to the people around them. And so you had to get beyond the math, right? So if people are leaving over money, there's a bigger problem somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I always say in recruiting conversations, if you're gonna join us for money, you're gonna leave us for money. But like once people get into our tribe, once people get into Momentum Realty, like as a leadership team, we put them on a touch program. We are constantly interacting with these people and trying to add value. You know, someone's sick, we're sending them flowers or food. You know, someone has a baby, we're sending them a Momentum onesie. So like to your point, the money is just where the conversation starts, but like they're staying because they feel welcomed. And so piggybacking off of that, we are like premiering and putting content out over our 100% plus commission model. So yes, you get to keep more of your money, but that's where the conversation starts. We're doing A, B, C, D to add more value and to transcend just the math. Because what I've realized and what John and I have spent a long time talking about is people don't know their numbers, people don't know the math. And even when you show them, it's not enough, like you said. So exactly, I mean, the stickiness factor of loving on someone and making them feel welcome and trying to fill out other needs and connecting them with people who can help them emotionally, physically, you know, not just in business, is huge. And we're doubling down on that commitment this year to increase that stickiness.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next suggestion is make sure you know why they're working, right? Because people sell real estate to make money because it funds a lifestyle that they want. It funds being able to provide for their kids in the way they want, the travel that they want, the retirement safety net that they want, right? So if you're not sure about what those like super important whys are for each of those agents and talking about those pieces, and you're only talking about the business, it's a lot easier to lose somebody as well.
That's a really great insight. I mean, I think, John, we need to incorporate that in our onboarding is like, why are you doing this? Like, what are your goals? Not just ask what are your goals, but like, why are you, who do you care most about? What we need? That's a great point.
Somebody says to you, hey, my goal is to do like $300,000 in GCI. My next question is for what? What are you going to do with the money? Right? Like what, how come? Because a lot of times people will just give you a goal because last year I made 150 and I should be able to double this year. Well, that's a stupid reason to have a goal, right? Like pick a real goal that you're excited about, that you're passionate about, why you're excited about it, what you're going to do with it. Because money is just paper. You light it on fire, it doesn't make any difference. It's all about what are you going to do with the money? Do you want to be able to donate to charity? Do you want to be able to pay for your kids to go to college? Do you want to be able to go on vacations? Do you want to be able to create financial freedom and invest and create passive income so you don't have to work? And then you just choose to show up if you want to, right? So what is it that inspires them to actually go after the goal that creates the money?
Yeah, and we do that when our agents onboard. We do one-on-one business planning and coaching with every single one of them. And most of them, what they're looking to do is create passive income so they don't have to work as hard. That seems to be the number one theme. And then the other one is for everybody to get off of online leads because they see the costs go up and they hate the lifestyle. So I would love if you, Ryan, you could kind of touch on what you've observed with online leads. Maybe there's teams out there that just work online leads. That's all they do, and kind of what you foresee happening in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that any team does just online leads, but I know it's a huge component for a lot of teams, right? I've coached some teams that had up to 40 agents on them and worked predominantly online leads. It's hard to scale in a lot of other areas, right? So they did like mailers and things like that. They were farming, they were doing lots of things that created opportunities for the agents, but the majority of leads came through online because they're the least expensive way to get leads. I don't see that going away, right? Where do people start searching for homes? Like, I don't even know what the number is, but it keeps going up every year. It's like 80, then 82, then 88, then 92% of people start their home search online. So if we're going to get in front of at least buyers and most likely some sellers, because a lot of those people will start looking for homes before they decide to list their home, especially in the market we've been in for a while, at least around here. I mean, I'm assuming it's similar where you guys are, but there's less homes on the market than there are buyers, right? So people start looking for a house before they start putting their house on the market. So even those buyer leads are listing leads. So if most of the people are going to be online first, then that's where you have to go to get leads if you're going to talk to them first. And most of the people are going to work with the first agent that they meet with. So you have to be the first one in the door. And if the first place they are is online, then you have to go online. Like, people, the buyer is driving the lead generation. The agent is not driving the lead generation. The buyer is driving the lead generation. They went online, so now we're online. And that's what has to happen. I think winning that game is going to come down to doing it better. And what the big companies can't do is be super local. So the people talking about being hyper local with blog content and social content that's actually of value and actually useful for people that they want to read, that they share with people, that they tag their friends in. Video content's going to be huge. If you're not doing video content yet, then you're missing like a huge opportunity, and a lot of people are not going to do it. I mean, the majority of small business, I was talking to somebody else the other day that runs courses on YouTube. That's all they do. And 90+% of small businesses are not on YouTube. It's the second biggest search engine in the world, owned by the biggest search engine in the world. And majority of people are not on YouTube. So if you want to win at the online game, I would get on YouTube, right? And then I would start building out the social channel, because what happened with like the Zillows and whatever, they sold out the agent a long time ago, right? When they started being $10 a lead is when I started buying them like 10 years ago. And
Yep.
now they're $150 for the same lead. And actually, I think the leads have gotten worse.
Yeah.
So you got more agents on there getting the same leads and paying 15 times as much money for them. It's getting harder and harder to be profitable. Now, can you be? Yeah, of course. There are several agents with good follow-up models and great agents that are working those leads consistently. There are other people that have ISA models where all they do is follow up with leads and send those agents out on those appointments, right? Those are the teams that are able to crush it, and they can afford to pay that higher number and get the return on investment. The problem with getting really good at generating online leads is if you don't have really good automated conversion methods in place to figure out who to talk to and when, based on what they're doing on your website and how active they are, then you almost can't spend enough time doing it. Most people will not be successful in it because they won't have a good mechanism for converting the lead. And that's where teams are winning.
Ryan, we just had a conversation this morning with some of our agents who are interested in doing social at a higher level. Video, the YouTube, that's very insightful. But like, you're right. If we look at our brokerage, you're saying 90% of small business owners are not on YouTube. 90% of our brokerage is not on YouTube. So that's very accurate. So that's a huge, like, if you're one of our agents listening or an agent anywhere, start making video. You're already behind. So that's huge.
Yeah, I would also say like those agents that are in our brokerage and outside our brokerage that are building a referral-based business are so profitable, and their lifestyle is incredible. And the difference between buying online leads, you have no control of when they come in, how they come in, if they're qualified. You have to spend time and money generating them versus just creating organic content and blasting it everywhere. I think that there's going to be like two different types of agents. Like obviously there's going to be a spectrum of it, but there's going to be like the online lead generating agent and then the hyper local social local celebrity agent. And you have to figure out which one you want to be. One pays really well and has a great lifestyle, one doesn't. And I think that, for us, Ryan, we ran the Brooks group here. We got up to 36 mil, and then we kind of transitioned to creating our own brokerage. And our online lead cost went from $500 per closed sale to $2,300. So even if we had a closing at $6,000 commission in a 50-50 split and then broker splits, we were losing money selling homes. And all we were doing was working for the referral, repeat, and review business. That's not a game I want to be in. So like for these agents listening, like you need to figure out like what's your, like exactly what you said, like when you come in and do consultation, ask them a bunch of questions, why they want to make money, what kind of lifestyle are they willing to commit to make that type of money, and then break it down on like, here's the specific activities you must do to accomplish X. Is that something that you really want to do, and kind of give that guidance, because a lot of agents don't know what to do. They're just winging it. They have no systems, no processes or anything. And then they choose one model because it's the easy button, but it's not sustainable long-term, or they don't own their own database, or they don't own their own brand. And they're basically working an employee model. And as we've seen moving forward is like realtor.com is rolling up their leads into Ready Connect with OpCity. Zillow is going through their Zillow Flex. So the Zillow Wall Street is picking and choosing the teams that they want to partner with right now. And so there's going to be like the teams that are working for Wall Street as employees, and then everybody else who's still a solid local, hyper local agent. And the agents need to decide now where they want to go, because the war has already been fought. Like you said, the buyers are looking online. Whether you want to do that organically or pay for it through one of the lead aggregators is up to you, but you have to be there if you want to be in the game and do it big long term.
Yeah, and you can pay for it without paying for it through one of the big lead aggregators, right? You can
Right.
boost your own posts on Facebook and Instagram. You could boost
Yep.
YouTube ads. So there's a lot of opportunity with very low budget to be able to generate more leads. And realistically, even if you are a sphere-based agent, which I always was, majority of my business always came from my sphere. I mailed to them. I had a great email campaign for them that was automated, 2 newsletters a month that went out to them. We had good engagement from it. I messaged them privately on Facebook. I called them. I met people for coffee. Like that was how I got most of my business, because I would rather talk to people that I knew already. However, we would get listings and we had to market them. And if everybody's online, we had to market them online. Well, we're also not going to just waste leads, right? So we had those leads coming in and we would work them. And that was like our secondary lead source, was everything that we did on social. Now, the difference was when I started, Facebook leads cost 50 cents a piece, right? And now they're like $5 a piece. So, but they're not 150 a piece, and they're not as ready. You have to realize you've interrupted them. So they're not as ready as the Zillow lead is. So you've got to figure out, based on being able to get them to engage and respond, the ones who are not going to engage and respond, don't waste your time. And the ones who are engaging with the stuff, reach out to and have a conversation, right? Because if they're engaging, then they're further along the bell curve as far as being ready to make a move. And so you've got to narrow that down, because if you generate thousands of leads for yourself as a solo agent, which you should be doing off of a handful of listings, if you've got 1 or 2 listings a month, you've got to be generating like 300, 500, 700 leads off of those. But that doesn't mean you're going to call all of them. You're not even going to get a phone number for all of them. Some of them are going to be bad email addresses. But if you want to talk to like 7 really good people, well, then get 700 of them in the door. And if you got 7 really good people out of those 700, 1% conversion from your online leads, like one of them showed up to an open house and you actually had a conversation with them there, right? 1 out of every 100. If you did that, it would cost you like $3,500 to generate those 700 leads. And you would probably talk to 100 of them to find the 7. And then those 7, in a lot of markets with a $500,000 average sale price, if you're keeping 3 or 3.5% on your side, if you're taking 6, I mean, I don't know what people are taking in that area, but 5 or 6 or whatever the number is, keeping 2.5 to 3.5% on a $500,000, right? At 3%, that's 15,000 times 7. So you do the math, but that's over 100K right there just from that couple of listings from that month. So if people, I mean, that was the model that we followed the whole time when I was working, is all we did was work the sphere and then advertise the listings.
So we just learned how to become a millionaire from Ryan Snow in less than 2 minutes. Because it's not complicated. You're simplifying, and leaders simplify. And I think like a lot of agents think they have to do 100 different things. You just were like, just do this, these 3 things, and your business will come. And I see that as a big missed opportunity, is agents don't work beyond the listing and just putting a sign up. That's a billboard in the neighborhood. They can work around that. Just like any other business, whenever there's an opportunity, you want to maximize it. My question for you, Ryan, is moving forward and thinking about the future of real estate. If you're a real estate agent who's a $3 to $5 million producer right now, what would be your one gem of advice for them if they were looking to double their business?
Double down on whatever your number one source of business was last year, because you haven't even begun to tap into it. So if you were like the king of FSBOs doing 4 million, do 8 million in FSBOs. Unless you hate doing FSBOs, then don't do them at all. But I don't know why you picked them in the first place, right? But if you did 4 million in Sphere, do 8 million in Sphere. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to pick up some of those online leads from advertising your listings and whatever. More of those opportunities happen based on having more opportunities from having more listings. But double down in the area that worked. Like any coaching client I've ever worked with, I said, hey, we'll do our first meeting when you can pull your last like 2 or 3 years worth of deals. Tell me where every one of them came from. Because all we're going to talk about is the one that the most deals came from. That's it. I don't want to talk about anything else. Until you've maxed that out, there's no other conversation we even need to have.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, totally agree. Man, we must have been trained from the same spot. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's a wonderful advice. So Bruce, what's your last question to wrap this up?
Oh no, that's it. I just learned how to be a millionaire, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Okay.
That's how. Go listen to that. Double down, implement your business, and then shout out to Ryan. Ryan, how can people get in touch with you?
So Facebook, Instagram, whatever, anywhere. I've got a Miracle Morning for Salespeople group that's free on Facebook, so they can search Miracle Morning for Salespeople. There's a free group out there. And then Instagram, I am Ryan Snow.
Yeah, and thank you for doing this, and thanks for the value that you and Cody are giving through that course on unconventional acquisitions. If you're interested in that course or looking to buy a business or learn some more business skills, I highly recommend it. It's an absolutely cheap. It's like the cost of half of a semester of one class at a university, and so definitely check it out. It's definitely a good bang for your buck.
I appreciate that, John. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to have Ryan's contact information in the comments in the show. So appreciate that. Thank you for bringing value, man, and spending some time with us. So another Move with Momentum podcast episode in the books. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
Take care, guys. Thank you.